I'm John Fonte, Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute here in Washington, D.C. I think that we have to work long range to build up both process of liberty and democracy, the emergence of liberal democratic governments and just simply peace-loving governments that are open to both tolerance and sort of worldwide international cooperation. So I think that that's crucial. But when there is action, when there's violence, then that violence has to be met and has to be answered in a serious way. I think, as you suggested there, groups of people working together against radicalism, yes, that's fine, that makes sense. In some cases, there is action. I mean, in World War II, there was violence. Nazi Germany invaded, and then there was in response to that, there was, remember, a D-Day invasion that we celebrated just a couple of weeks ago. That was, I don't call that violence. That was a return. The powers, the United States, Britain, France, Soviet Union at the time, responded. In that case, it was necessary to respond in a military way. So sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But your first suggestion there would be the first approach, yes, to have a cooperative group of people working across religious groups to come to an agreement and to fight against extremism and against radical Islamist terrorism. Well, Turkey has always been there as for this century, certainly since the 1920s, as one model. So we'll see how that develops. But Turkey has been a model in the past for a particular approach to these very difficult issues. So we'll see how that continues. There's an American title to it. I have a chapter on the European Union. I have a chapter on what's going on in Israel, and it's sort of world affairs. So I'm saying that is a conflict. It's available on Amazon, obviously. That's the conflict between, in the developed world, between democratic sovereignty and global governance. Now, in this book and in my arguments that I've been making for the last couple of years, I distinguish between just pure national sovereignty and democratic sovereignty. National sovereignty would apply in North Korea or Burma, or authoritarian states could be sovereign. We know about Westphalian sovereignty. You've heard that in international relations from the Treaty of Westphalia. It means the state is sovereign. Sovereignty means, the sovereign, the king, the queen. The state is sovereign. So I'm talking about liberal democracy. We're talking more about liberty here, actually, than democracy, but a liberal democracy. You're saying, what should the educational policy be? Countries can determine their own educational policy. I would tend to agree with you, but I would certainly want to study the history of the 20th century is to study the history of fascism, of Marxism, of National Socialism. We certainly should, as you're saying, studying all religions and so on. Yes, I would favor as broad an education as possible. I think that's what you're asking. Should students, would it be good if students throughout studied all of these things? The answer is, I think, at least my view would be yes. I think an open education system in which all of these things were certainly there shouldn't be things that should not be taught. So yeah, I would think they should be taught, and students should have a wide exposure to all of these ideas. If that's in the educational system, that would be a preferable education system. They would also be somewhat inoculated. If they've never heard some of these ideas, then they may be open to something. I guess I think at this point, that we'd all be better off, even since Germany sometimes was so worried about teaching certain things that they sort of narrowed the curriculum. But I think if you expose students to all aspects, that it's probably a better system. So essentially, I think I'm agreeing with what you're suggesting here.